But what do you see, though, the wider war strategy of Iran here? Because I was also a bit surprised by the civilian targets, that is airports, hotels. The foreign minister said we attacked the hotels because they house American troops, but still, I've seen a lot of other civilian targets which didn't, you know, it fits more within your analysis here, that it's more about causing pain. But they jumped straight into the closing off the Strait of Hormuz. They attack ships, I think four oil tankers so far, if I'm counting correctly. So what is the strategy now of Iran? I mean, if you would,
Yeah.
sit down with
What
the
I
war
think is
planners,
that
what do you think they would say?
I think that they have calculated we're going to run this out for a number of months. That's my guess based on what they're doing. These things aren't short lived. These things aren't like, well, we're trying to do this and we'll ratchet up bit by bit to increase the pain. But if you back off at any time, so can we. This sounds like they have said no. We're all in, and so we're going to shut down all the stuff we've been signaling we were going to do the stuff. You didn't believe us, and I'm sick of it. After 47 years of taking this kind of punishment from their perspective, I'm done. And so now then, new rules are in effect, and you're going to go by what we say. You're going to finally taste some of the pain that we've been taking, because I think that they view this as a genuine existential crisis. And I think that they said we're going to have to. It looks to me like in their councils they must have calculated that we're going to suffer real bad for this. There's no doubt about it. But we're going to have a shot at having a positive outcome at the end, which is to drain the United States dry. The whole issue with the Russia-Ukraine war is that it's a war of attrition, and both sides have a lot of inputs, and so it's taken years, and they're still not there. As bad as Ukraine's been hit, they can still keep going. The United States, on the other hand, is not analogous to the Russian side in that one. We don't have that much capacity to just go for years like this. As a matter of fact, you heard General Jack Keane on the morning of the attack say, boasting that we could do this for 2 or 3 weeks. And he said, but maybe it'll be done faster because they assassinated the Ayatollah. And they said, well, now then maybe it won't even take that long. Well, if that's your planning range, what that was to me another major blunder of the United States to admit that we have a narrow window here. So what you're telling Iran, make sure you spread this out further than 3 weeks, because we're going to have a really hard time of maintaining enough, gasoline for our jets, bullets and bombs for our jets, the missiles, the air defense missiles, the air offense missiles, the attack missiles, all of those kinds of things. We don't have that many to just get into an indefinite expenditure here. We just don't have it. And however many Ukraine or Iran has, they also have limited. So it's not like they can go on also for years, but they can go for more than 3 weeks, I think they have calculated. And when you see these now increasing videos from Israel, and now then you see what I had feared about and was angry, and I'm angry about now, about the casualties of the United States, when those start to pile up, and believe me, they're going to do everything they can to accelerate those number of casualties in both places. People at home are going to start saying, wait a minute, why did you do this? Where's this quick victory? And especially if it drains out past 3 weeks, they're going, hang on, you guys said this would be an easy win, or that it would be something that we could get done. Now then, we haven't, because Trump is now saying, hey, maybe within 3 days we can have a ceasefire and negotiation. But what if now it's the 4th day and the 5th day and there's still no sign? The bombs and missiles keep falling from the Iran side. Now they start getting into more stuff. When we start running low on air defense missiles as well, now, if they start pulling out, wave upon wave of, 300-400 at a wave of these Shahed drones, so that reportedly they have like tens of thousands of them, and they could do that for a long time. We haven't even seen any of those yet, not at scale. And we have seen some of the smaller number of drones get through American defenses, as it is at Bahrain in particular. There's one famous video that's out there. If you keep going down that path, and now all of a sudden we can't even stop drones because we're running low on air defense capabilities, and we start suffering even more casualties as the time goes on, then there's going to be incredible political pressure on both Jerusalem and Washington to start looking to something. And now then, I think, if you ask me what their objective was overall, I think from the Iranian side, is it to cause so much pain that now then we come back with, hat in hand and looking for a negotiated settlement that is much worse for us than the one that was on the table the night before all this from the Oman foreign minister. Now then, those deals are gone. They're never going to come back with those kind of generous terms again. Now then, they're going to be demanding a lot in return. They're going to be demanding drop in sanctions, change of designations, get rid of this terrorist designation, etc. I don't know that they'll trust us on anything, but if they get something like that, at least, a change of the negotiations and the sanctions, that could be a win for them, something that they might consider. But it's going to take a lot of pain on our side to get to that point, because the anger and the hatred is so high for them. And now then you have our arrogance has been challenged here. Because for us to admit that we're not strong enough to compel compliance from little Iran, that's going to be a major, major problem for our side. It's something that they won't do easily and will be fought fiercely among all these warlusters and these warmongers who loved all this and had been pleading with Trump to do it, and he finally gave in. You can imagine they'll continue on, and then, of course, then they'll blame Trump if he agrees to anything like this and say, oh, he just didn't have the stamina, he didn't have the stomach and the courage to keep going. We should have stayed. They'll blame everybody in the world except for themselves and see the disaster, that what they got, what they wanted, how much it cost us. But that's a lot of stuff on the table here, but that's kind of where I see this going, which means a lot more people are going to die and a lot more things are going to get blown up.
Were you surprised, though, that there was no gradual escalation ladder here, that they went out, all out, so quickly? Again, this has been the end of day 2, and all these countries hit the Strait of Hormuz, the civilian targets. I mean, like you said, they're going all out. Did this take you by surprise?
It was 50-50. I wasn't shocked. I wasn't fully on board. I didn't think they would, like I said, they did go a little bit further than I thought, but it's logical. It's what I would have done, but based on their 47-year history, I didn't think they would. I thought that they would go bigger than they did in the 12-Day War. I thought they would attack the U.S. bases, and I thought it was a coin flip on the Strait of Hormuz. I thought that might be a negotiating tactic that, all right, we'll ramp this up. But it looks like I said, now that it looks to me like, based on evidence, that in their councils of discussion before this started, that they said, no, we're all in. If the United States and Israel start this war, we're just all in. And so now then I think that their calculation is just, yeah, there's no more ramping up anything. Now that you've assassinated our Ayatollah, and in that same council meeting, it's now my assessment based on evidence that they said, hey, 86-year-old, he didn't have that much longer to live anyway. And I think he said, I'm not going into the tunnels. I'm not going to hide. I'm going to put myself right there where I'm always at every day. And when the bombs come, they're going to take me out at that time, use me as a martyr, and then use that to rally people in our country and around the other parts of Shia Islam. And it looks like that's succeeding, at least so far. And I've talked to one, and I've read that a friend of mine interviewed another Iranian who were just passionately against the Ayatollah and have protested against him in the past, and said, listen, y'all are putting us in a terrible situation, because we hated the Ayatollah and wanted to get rid of that regime. We've been protesting for years in this case. And I've known this guy for well over a decade in my case. And then others have said the same thing, that, look, while we don't like him, but you think that we're going to embrace, Israel, our biggest enemy in the region, who's been doing all this stuff to us since like the 2010 Stuxnet and on forward, and assassinated people and our people in Tehran, blown up our embassies and stuff, and then now attacked us twice. You think that we're going to embrace what they're doing and we're going to succeed? No. And they're not going to come tell us that Reza Pahlavi is going to become the new leader of Iran. I mean, are you serious? That's who we rose up against in 1979, that family. There's no way they're going to take him back, that he's going to be able to govern any kind of coalition in Iran. At least that's my opinion. So they are angry at Israel, so they're not going to embrace it. So if our thought was that we'll cause enough mayhem and wound the leadership of Iran, then they'll rise up because we've killed a bunch of their people and done stuff, and then that's going to be yay good for us. Like Lindsey Graham, he's the biggest proponent of that. I think that they're angry at him too, because your assumptions were badly flawed, because now that they're in a bad position, they're not going to turn against their own country and embrace what they've been calling the little Satan for 47 years, or the great Satan in our case. So I think that no matter what weird words comes out of Trump's mouth, like, oh, these great and wonderful people of Iran, we look forward to having them, because they said, listen, we know it's the same kind of language you guys have been using to everybody. You said that about the people in Libya. You said it about the people in Somalia. You said it about the people in Afghanistan, in Iraq, etc. You always say that kind of stuff, and then you walk away the minute it's unhappy. This is what they're saying. And so we know how that works out. We've seen this play before. So we know this is not about us, and you're going to not do anything for us once you get what you want, which is the loss of that regime. So that's another reason why they're not exactly falling all over themselves to do what we're asking them to do, and to basically become our boots on the ground so that we don't have to send in an army. I think that they're saying, yeah, you want an army? Bring an army. If you want to roll in and do this stuff, do it. Don't ask us to die in large numbers on the ground because you don't want to send in an army. And by the way, we don't even like you. So that's complicating our strategy too.